The coffee maker gurgled like a dying animal as I stood in my kitchen, staring at the text message that would change everything. Helping Mom with her back surgery recovery. We'll be back tomorrow evening. Love you. I almost believed it. Almost. The front door creaked open behind me, and Margaret shuffled in carrying a bag of groceries, moving with the spry energy of a woman who definitely hadn't had back surgery. My mother-in-law set the bag on the counter and looked at me with those sharp gray eyes that missed nothing. "Morning, David. You look like someone pissed in your cornflakes." I held up my phone. "Your daughter says she's helping you recover from back surgery." Margaret's eyebrows shot up. She grabbed the phone, read the message, then let out a bark of laughter that could strip paint. "Back surgery? Hell, I just finished my morning jog. Haven't been to a doctor in 2 years except for my annual checkup." The coffee maker gave one final death rattle. I poured myself a cup with hands that weren't quite steady. 22 years of marriage, and Lisa was still finding new ways to surprise me. "So where is she?" Margaret asked, unpacking eggs and bacon like she owned the place. "Good question." I pulled up Lisa's location on Find My Phone. It showed her at the Marriott downtown. "Apparently helping you recover at a hotel." Margaret snorted. That girl always was creative with the truth. Remember when she was 16 and told you she was sleeping over at her friend Jenny's house? She was actually at that party with the college boys. Bingo! Margaret cracked an egg into the pan with unnecessary violence. Some things never change. I sat at our kitchen table, the one Lisa had insisted on refinishing last spring to match her Pinterest board aesthetic. Everything in our house was carefully curated for her Instagram posts. The shabby chic furniture, the mason jar lighting fixtures, the inspirational quotes painted on reclaimed wood. It was all performance art, and I was apparently the only one who didn't know I was playing a role. My phone buzzed, a text from Lisa. "Mom's doing better today. Might stay another night to make sure she's okay." I showed Margaret, who was now aggressively flipping bacon. "Want me to text her back?" "What would you say?" Margaret grinned, and I saw where Lisa got her mischievous streak. "How about tell David I said hi?" I typed it out and hit send. The response came back in 30 seconds. "She says hi back. She's napping now." "Impressive," I said. "You're a very fast napper." Margaret plated the eggs and bacon, setting a full breakfast in front of me. "David, honey, I've been married 3 times. I know the signs. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" That was the million-dollar question, wasn't it? 22 years ago, I'd married my college sweetheart, the ambitious architecture student who was going to design beautiful buildings and fill our house with beautiful children. Instead, we got one miscarriage, a successful but soul-crushing job at a corporate firm, and apparently a side hobby of creative fiction writing. "I could confront her," I said, cutting into the eggs. "Ask her directly." "Boring," Margaret said, "and she'll just lie better next time." "I could hire a private investigator." "Expensive, and you already know she's lying." I looked at my mother-in-law, this 70-year-old retired nurse who'd raised 4 kids and buried 2 husbands. Margaret had always been the practical one in the family, the one who said what everyone else was thinking. "What would you do?" I asked. Margaret sat down across from me with her own plate. "I'd get creative. She wants to play games? Let's play games." My phone rang. Lisa's name appeared on the screen. "Answer it," Margaret whispered. "Put it on speaker." "Hey, babe." Lisa's voice filled the kitchen, artificially bright. "How are you doing?" "Good. Just having breakfast. Your mom made me eggs and bacon." Dead silence. "My... what?" "Your mom. She's right here. Want to talk to her?" I could practically hear Lisa's brain scrambling for an explanation. "Oh, I must have forgotten to mention... she had a friend come help, too." Margaret leaned toward the phone. "Hi, sweetie. Thanks for sending your friend Margaret to help me. She looks exactly like me and has all my memories. Very thoughtful." More silence. I have to go. Mom needs her medication." The line went dead. Margaret and I looked at each other across the table. Then we both started laughing. Not the polite chuckles you give to your mother-in-law's jokes, but the deep, belly-shaking laughter of 2 people who've just realized they're about to have some fun. "She's going to panic," Margaret said, wiping her eyes. "Good," I replied, surprised by the venom in my own voice. "Let her panic." I pulled out my laptop and logged into our shared cloud account. Lisa was meticulous about backing up her photos, and she'd never bothered to hide them from me. Why would she? I was just boring old David, the contractor who fixed other people's dream homes while living in our slowly deteriorating colonial. The recent photos told a story. Lisa at fancy restaurants I'd never been to. Lisa in cocktail dresses I'd never seen. Lisa with her arm around a man I recognized from her college photos. Brad something, the guy she'd dated junior year before we got serious. Well, well, I muttered, scrolling through months of secret dates. Brad's still got that trust fund haircut. Margaret looked over my shoulder. Is that the little weasel from her graduation party? The one who kept talking about his father's law firm? That's him. Apparently he's still in town. Apparently they've been catching up. The photos got more intimate as I scrolled. Hands held across restaurant tables, a kiss in front of what looked like his apartment building, Lisa wearing a necklace I'd never seen, something expensive and sparkly that definitely wasn't from my contractor's salary. My phone buzzed with another text from Lisa. Sorry about the confusion earlier. Friend's mom, not my mom. Autocorrect. You know how it is. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I showed Margaret, who shook her head. She's really doubling down on this. What do you think I should text back? Margaret thought for a moment, then grinned. Tell her you understand completely. Autocorrect is tricky, like when it changes cheating to helping. I typed it out and sent it. This time, there was no response. I spent the rest of the morning going through our digital life with the thoroughness of a man who builds houses for a living. Credit card statements showed charges at restaurants and hotels. Her Uber history was a roadmap of deception. Her browser history revealed searches for how to delete text messages permanently and signs your husband suspects you're cheating. That last one stung. Not because she was cheating, but because she thought I was too stupid to figure it out. Margaret had made herself at home in our living room, feet up on Lisa's precious coffee table, watching my investigation with the interest of someone binge-watching a particularly good soap opera. Find anything juicy? She asked. I turned the laptop around to show her a hotel receipt from last Tuesday. The same night Lisa had claimed to be working late on the Morrison project. $230 for one night at the Riverside Inn. That's the place with the heart-shaped tubs. Margaret whistled. Classy. Nothing says I love you like a motel with hourly rates. My phone rang again. This time it was my buddy Tom from the boxing gym. Dave, you need to get down here, he said without preamble. Your wife's drama is all over social media. What do you mean? Sarah posted something on Facebook about Lisa needing support during a difficult time. Says you've been emotionally unavailable and she's had to lean on old friends for comfort. Sarah, Lisa's best friend since college, the one who'd never liked me, who'd always thought Lisa had settled when she married a blue-collar guy instead of someone with a degree and a trust fund. I'll be right there, I told Tom. Margaret stood up as I grabbed my keys. Where are we going? We? Honey, this is the most entertainment I've had since my last husband died. You're not leaving me behind. The Iron Pit boxing gym occupied a converted warehouse on the wrong side of town, the kind of place where the equipment was older than some of the fighters and the air conditioning was more theoretical than actual. It was my sanctuary, the one place where Lisa never went, where I could be myself instead of the domesticated version she preferred. Tom was waiting for us by the heavy bags, his phone in his hand and a grim expression on his face. At 55, he'd been a semi-professional boxer before a torn rotator cuff ended his career. Now he trained kids from the neighborhood and listened to middle-aged men complain about their lives. Show me, I said. Tom handed over his phone. Sarah's Facebook post was a masterpiece of passive-aggressive manipulation, sending love and support to my dear friend Lisa during this difficult time. Marriage isn't always easy, especially when one partner becomes emotionally distant and controlling. Sometimes we need to reconnect with people who truly understand us. Real friends don't judge. They just listen and support. Schachter, marriage is work. Schacht true friends, her support system. The post had 37 likes and 12 comments, all from Lisa's circle of suburban mom friends. The comments ranged from supportive, "You're such a good friend, Sarah," to fishing for gossip, "Is everything okay with Lisa?" to barely concealed judgment, "Some men just don't appreciate what they have." Emotionally distant and controlling, I read aloud. That's rich. Margaret read over my shoulder, her jaw tightening. That little bitch. She's setting up the narrative. Tom raised an eyebrow at my mother-in-law's language, but didn't comment. He'd met Margaret before and knew better than to underestimate her. There's more, Tom said, taking back his phone and scrolling. Lisa shared it with her own comment. Lisa's addition was shorter but more pointed. Thank you for understanding, Sarah. It's hard when the person who's supposed to love you most makes you feel invisible. Grateful for friends who see me for who I really am. Invisible, I repeated. The woman has a walk-in closet bigger than most people's bedrooms, drives a car that costs more than I make in 6 months, and goes out with her friends 3 nights a week, but she's invisible. Classic cheater behavior, Margaret said, settling onto one of the worn benches. Make the betrayed spouse the villain so she can justify her actions. My phone buzzed. A text from my neighbor Jerry. Saw Lisa's post. You okay, man? Then another from my sister. What's going on with you and Lisa? Sarah's post makes it sound serious. And another from Lisa's cousin. Heard you and Lisa are having problems. Hope you can work it out. Jesus, I muttered. She's really going nuclear? Tom wrapped his hands while he talked. You want my advice? Document everything. Screenshots, bank statements, hotel receipts. If this goes south, you'll need proof. It's already gone south, I said. She's been cheating for months, maybe longer. The only question now is what I do about it. Divorce her, Margaret said bluntly. Take her for everything she's worth. She makes more money than I do. I'd be the one paying alimony. Then make sure she doesn't have a job to make money from, Tom suggested, landing a solid combination on the heavy bag. You know where she works. You know her boss. Corporate types don't like scandal. I'd met Lisa's boss, Richard Hartwell, at the company Christmas party. Mid-50s, married to his college sweetheart. 2 kids in private school. The kind of man who valued discretion and family values, at least in public. That's not a bad idea, I said slowly. Margaret pulled out her own phone. What's Lisa's work email? Why? Because I'm going to send Mr. Hartwell some interesting photos. Mom, you can't... I'm not your mom yet, Margaret interrupted. That would require Lisa to actually marry you properly instead of just going through the motions. And I can do whatever I want. I'm a 70-year-old widow with nothing to lose and a daughter who's embarrassing the family name. She had a point. Margaret had always been protective of her family's reputation, and Lisa's public airing of our private business would hit her where it hurt most. My phone rang. Lisa's name appeared on the screen. Don't answer it, Tom advised. Let her sweat. But I was curious. What was her next move in this chess game she'd started? Hello, Lisa. David, we need to talk. Her voice was tight, controlled. The voice she used when she was trying not to lose her temper with difficult clients. I'm listening. This whole thing with my mom is getting blown out of proportion. I made a mistake with my wording, and now you're making me look bad in front of our friends. I'm making you look bad? That whole thing with putting her on speaker was embarrassing. People are starting to ask questions. I looked at Margaret, who was making throat-slitting gestures. Tom had stopped hitting the bag and was listening with obvious interest. What kind of questions? I asked. Sarah thinks you're trying to control me by monitoring my whereabouts. She says it's a red flag. Sarah says a lot of things, like how I'm emotionally distant and controlling. Silence. You saw that? Everyone saw it, Lisa. That's how Facebook works. Look, I'm sorry about that. Sarah was just trying to be supportive. She doesn't understand our relationship. What relationship? The one where you lie about where you're going and I pretend not to notice? More silence. When Lisa spoke again, her voice had changed. Less controlled, more desperate. David, I think we should talk when I get home. Really talk. About us. About what we both need. When will that be? Tonight? Tomorrow? Or are you planning another family emergency? I'll be home tonight. We can order dinner from that Italian place you like and just talk, okay? I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Sure, Lisa, we'll talk. After I hung up, Margaret shook her head. She's going to come home with some story about how this is all a misunderstanding, how Brad is just a friend, how the hotel receipts are from work trips you forgot about. Probably, I agreed. And then what? That was the question, wasn't it? I could confront her with the evidence, demand the truth, and watch our marriage officially end in a screaming match. I could play along with her lies and live the rest of my life as a cuckold, or I could get creative. Tom, you still know people in the media? Tom nodded slowly. A few freelance photographers, guys who do divorce work sometimes. Why? Because I think Lisa's story is about to get a lot more interesting. Margaret clapped her hands together. Now you're thinking like my son-in-law. I spent the rest of the afternoon making plans. Tom connected me with a photographer named Jake who specialized in domestic situations. Margaret went home to wait for Lisa's return, armed with a hidden camera app on her phone. I drove to the Marriott downtown. The hotel was the kind of place that catered to business travelers and weekend getaways, expensive enough to feel special, discreet enough to avoid unwanted attention. I sat in the lobby with a newspaper and a cup of overpriced coffee, watching the elevators. At 4:30, they appeared. Lisa first, looking around nervously before heading for the exit. Brad 30 seconds later, trying to look casual as he walked in the opposite direction toward the parking garage. They were good at this, practiced. I followed Brad to his car, a silver BMW with vanity plates that read Lower 1. Of course they did. Jake's camera caught everything. Brad checking his phone, probably for text from Lisa. Brad stopping at a flower shop to buy roses, probably for his wife. Brad driving to a house in the suburbs, probably the home he shared with the woman he was cheating on with my wife. "You want me to get pictures of the house?" Jake asked through his earpiece. "Everything," I said. "The address, the car in the driveway, him going inside with the flowers. This guy's a real piece of work. You have no idea." By 6 o'clock, I had enough material to destroy both of them. Photos of Brad and Lisa entering and leaving the hotel, photos of Brad's car in the hotel parking garage, photos of Brad buying flowers for his wife with the same credit card he'd used to pay for his afternoon with mine. But I wasn't ready to use them yet. Lisa wanted to talk tonight, to spin some story that would make this all go away. I was curious to hear what she'd come up with. Margaret texted me at 7. "She's home, looks nervous, brought Chinese food instead of Italian. Even her guilt meals are lies." I drove home slowly, taking the long way through our neighborhood. The tree-lined streets looked the same as always, but everything felt different now. These weren't just houses anymore. They were potential witnesses. The neighbors who'd seen Lisa leaving at odd hours. The mailman who'd noticed packages addressed to her that I'd never seen. The teenage kid next door who probably had security cameras that caught more than his parents realized. Our house looked exactly as I'd left it that morning, but it felt like a stage set now. All of Lisa's carefully curated decorations suddenly looked like props in a play I hadn't known I was performing in. I parked in the driveway and sat for a moment, looking at the windows glowing warm and yellow in the evening light. From the outside, we probably looked like the perfect suburban couple. Successful wife, hard-working husband, beautiful home, stable marriage. Appearances, I was learning, could be deceiving. Lisa had set the dining room table with our good china, the wedding set we only used for holidays and special occasions. Candles flickered between containers of Chinese takeout, creating an atmosphere that was part romantic dinner, part last meal. She'd changed clothes since this afternoon, trading whatever she'd worn to her hotel rendezvous for a soft sweater and jeans that looked casual but probably cost more than most people's rent. Her hair was freshly washed, her makeup perfectly applied. She looked beautiful, which somehow made everything worse. "I got your favorite," she said, gesturing to the containers. "Sweet and sour pork from Golden Dragon." I sat down across from her, noting how she couldn't quite meet my eyes. "Thanks." She served us both, her movements quick and nervous. The silence stretched between us, filled only by the soft clink of chopsticks against porcelain. "So," she said finally, "how was your day?" "Interesting. Yours?" "Good. Mom's feeling much better." I took a bite of sweet and sour pork, chewing slowly. "That's great. What exactly was wrong with her back?" Lisa's chopsticks paused halfway to her mouth. "Oh, just some stiffness. Age-related stuff." Did she see a doctor?" No, nothing that serious. She just needed help around the house." I nodded thoughtfully. "That makes sense. Although it's funny. When I talked to her this morning, she seemed to be moving around pretty well." "Well, you know how these things come and go." "Absolutely. Back pain is tricky that way." Lisa relaxed slightly, probably thinking she'd navigated the dangerous waters successfully. She took a sip of wine and smiled at me across the candlelit table. "I'm glad we're doing this," she said. "Talking, I mean. I feel like we haven't really connected in a while." "When do you think that started?" "What do you mean?" "The disconnect. When did we stop connecting?" Lisa considered this, twirling low mine around her chopsticks. "I don't know. Gradually, I guess. We got busy with work, with life. You know how it is?" "I don't, actually. Tell me." She looked up at me, and for a moment I saw something that might have been genuine emotion cross her face. Sadness, maybe, or regret. "You work so hard, David. You're always tired when you come home, and I'm stressed about projects at work. Ships passing in the night, I guess." "So you decided to dock at a different port?" The words hung in the air between us. Lisa's face went very still. "I don't know what you mean. Don't you?" I pulled out my phone and scrolled to the hotel receipt, set it on the table next to the sweet and sour pork. Lisa looked down at the screen, and all the color drained from her face. "David, I can explain." "I'm sure you can. You're very creative." She reached across the table, trying to take my hand, but I pulled it away. "It's not what you think." "What is it then?" It's complicated." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Complicated. Right." Lisa's composure cracked. Tears started flowing, and her voice took on the pleading tone she used when she really wanted something. David, please. I made a mistake. A stupid, terrible mistake, but it doesn't mean anything. A mistake that lasted months? How did you... She stopped herself, but it was too late. How did I know it was months? Because I'm not as stupid as you think I am? I pulled out more screenshots. The restaurant receipts, the Uber rides, the photos from her cloud account. This one's from March, I said, pointing to a picture of her and Brad at some upscale steakhouse. This one's from April. Oh, and here's a fun one from May. Is that a hotel room in the background? Lisa was crying harder now, mascara running down her cheeks in dark streams. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, David. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen. For months, while you were posting on social media about how emotionally distant I was. That wasn't about you. It was exactly about me. You and Sarah, painting me as the bad guy so you could justify fucking your college boyfriend. Lisa flinched at the profanity. I rarely swore, especially not at her. Don't call him that. What should I call him? Your friend? Your emotional support system? David, please. Does his wife know? Lisa's tears stopped abruptly. What? Brad's wife. Does she know he's been helping you through your difficult marriage? You can't... You wouldn't... Wouldn't what? Tell her the truth? Why not? Don't you think she has a right to know what kind of man she's married to? Lisa stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. David, you can't do that. You'll ruin everything. Everything's already ruined, Lisa. You ruined it. She started pacing around the dining room, her hands shaking as she tried to think. Okay, she said finally. Okay, yes, I've been seeing Brad. But it's not serious. It's just... I was lonely, and he was there, and it just happened. Just happened. For months. I was going to end it. I swear to you, I was going to end it. When? Soon. I needed to figure out how. I stood up and started clearing the table, stacking our barely touched dinner back into the takeout containers. Where are you going? Lisa asked. I'm cleaning up. This conversation is over. No, it's not. We need to work this out. We need to figure out how to fix this. I turned to look at her, this woman I'd loved for over 20 years, and felt absolutely nothing. There's nothing to fix, Lisa. You made your choice. I choose you. I choose us. You chose him. Every time you lied about where you were going, every time you made me feel crazy for asking questions, every time you posted on social media about what a terrible husband I am, you chose him. I never said you were terrible. Emotionally distant and controlling. That was Sarah's post, but you shared it. You agreed with it. Lisa sank into her chair, her head in her hands. What do you want from me, David? What do you want me to do? I want you to pack a bag and leave. This is my house, too. Is it? Because according to your social media, you're miserable here. According to your credit card statements, you'd rather be anywhere else. So go be anywhere else. I'm not leaving. Then I will. I started toward the stairs, but Lisa grabbed my arm. Wait, please. Can we try counseling? Can we try to work through this? I looked down at her hand on my arm, then back at her face. She was still beautiful, even with her makeup running and her eyes red from crying, but I felt like I was looking at a stranger. Lisa, do you love him? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Do you love him? I repeated. I don't know. Do you love me? Another pause, another non-answer that told me everything I needed to know. I love our life together, she said finally. That's not the same thing. I pulled my arm free and headed upstairs to pack a bag. Behind me, I could hear Lisa crying again, but it sounded performative now. Like she was crying because she thought she should, not because she actually felt anything. My phone buzzed with a text from Margaret. How did it go? I typed back, about as expected. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. Which one? Haven't decided yet. Stay at the Riverside Inn, room 237. It's already paid for. I stared at the message, confused. What do you mean? Brad paid for it through tomorrow night. Apparently he was planning another romantic getaway. Shame to let it go to waste. Despite everything, I smiled. My mother-in-law was diabolical. How did you find that out? I called the hotel pretending to be his secretary, confirming his reservation. Amazing what people will tell you if you sound official. I packed a bag while Lisa stood in the doorway, alternating between apologies and accusations. "This is all Sarah's fault," she said at one point. "She encouraged me. She said I deserved to be happy." "Sarah didn't make you cheat?" "She said you were holding me back, that I'd settled for less than I deserved." "Maybe you did settle. Maybe we both did." That shut her up for a moment. As I headed for the door, suitcase in hand, Lisa made one last desperate attempt. "David, I'll do anything. I'll quit my job. We can move away, start over somewhere new. I'll never see him again. I promise." I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. "Lisa, if I asked you right now to call Brad and break up with him, would you do it?" "Yes, of course." "Call him." She pulled out her phone, then hesitated. "Right now?" "Right now." She stared at the phone for a long moment, then looked up at me with something that might have been defiance. "I can't just... I need to explain things to him properly. It's not fair to just..." "There it is," I said, opening the door. "You can't even choose me when I'm standing right in front of you." I left her standing in our foyer, surrounded by all her carefully curated decorations, crying tears that I no longer believed were real. The Riverside Inn was exactly as advertised. Tacky, overpriced, and equipped with a heart-shaped tub that probably violated several health codes. But it was clean, it was quiet, and most importantly, it was the room where my wife had planned to spend tomorrow night with her lover. I texted Margaret, "I'm in. This place is ridiculous." "Perfect. How are you holding up?" "Better than expected. What's the plan for tomorrow?" "Leave that to me. I have some calls to make." I ordered room service and settled in to review the evidence Jake had gathered. The photos were damning. Clear shots of Lisa and Brad entering and leaving the hotel, timestamps showing they'd been meeting here regularly for months. But the real gold mine was the information Margaret had extracted from the hotel staff. Brad had been paying for these rooms with his corporate credit card, claiming them as business expenses. His law firm specialized in family law, which made the irony almost too perfect. My phone rang at 10 p.m. Lisa's name appeared on the screen. "I'm not ready to talk yet," I said by way of greeting. "David, please come home. We can work this out." "No, we can't." I ended it. I called Brad and told him it was over. I almost believed her. Almost. "What did he say?" He understood. He said he'd been feeling guilty too." "I'm sure he did." "David, I know you're angry, but we can get through this. Other couples have survived affairs." Other couples didn't have their affairs broadcast on social media. I took down the post. Sarah did too. Too little, too late, but I didn't bother telling her that. "I need time to think, Lisa." "How much time?" "I don't know." After I hung up, I called Tom. "How'd it go?" he asked. "She confessed. Claims she ended it." "You believe her?" "Doesn't matter. The damage is done." "So what's next?" "I'm going to destroy them." Tom was quiet for a moment. "Dave, I've known you for 15 years. You're not a vindictive guy. I wasn't, but apparently I'm full of surprises. The next morning, I woke up in Brad's heart-shaped bed and felt better than I had in months. For the first time in years, I had a purpose that didn't involve fixing other people's problems or pretending my marriage was something it wasn't. Margaret called at 8 a.m. "How did you sleep?" "Like a baby. What's the plan?" "Meet me at Starbucks on Main Street in an hour. Bring the photos." The coffee shop was busy with the morning rush, but Margaret had claimed a corner table with a clear view of the entrance. She was dressed like she was going to a funeral. Black dress, black purse, black sunglasses, despite being indoors. "You look like you're planning a hit," I said, sitting down across from her. "In a way, I am. Show me what you've got." I spread the photos across the table like a poker hand. Margaret studied them with the intensity of a general planning a battle. "This one," she said, pointing to a shot of Brad entering the hotel. "What time was this taken?" 2:15 p.m. yesterday. "Perfect. His law firm's website says he was supposed to be in court at 2:30. "How do you know that?" Margaret smiled. "I called his office this morning, pretending to be a court clerk trying to confirm his appearance. His secretary was very helpful." "You're terrifying." "I'm motivated. There's a difference." She pulled out a manila folder and spread its contents on the table. Printouts from Brad's law firm website, screenshots of his LinkedIn profile, and what looked like a family photo from some social media account. "Meet Jennifer Walsh," Margaret said, pointing to a blonde woman in the family photo. Brad's wife of 12 years, mother of his 2 children, and according to her Facebook page, completely clueless about her husband's extracurricular activities. "You found his wife?" "I found everything. Where she works, where the kids go to school, where they go to church. Jennifer Walsh is a kindergarten teacher at St. Mary's Elementary, volunteers with the PTA, and post inspirational quotes about marriage and family values. I stared at the photo of Brad's family. 2 kids, maybe 8 and 10 years old, grinning at the camera with missing teeth and grass stains on their clothes. A normal family, just like we used to be. I can't destroy their kids' lives. You're not destroying anything, Margaret said firmly. Brad destroyed it the moment he decided to cheat on his wife with my daughter. You're just revealing the truth. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. I miss you. Please come home so we can talk. I showed Margaret, who snorted. She's panicking. Good. What if she really did end it with Brad? Then she should have thought of that before she started it. Margaret was right, but I still felt a knot in my stomach looking at those kids' faces. There has to be another way. There is. You could forgive her, go back home, and pretend this never happened. Is that what you want? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Going back to our routine, our carefully maintained facade of suburban happiness, Lisa would be more careful next time, better at hiding her affairs, because there would be a next time. I was sure of that now. No, I said finally, but I want to give them a chance to come clean first. Margaret raised an eyebrow. Meaning? Meaning I'm going to tell Brad that I know about the affair. Give him 24 hours to tell his wife himself before I do it for him. And if he doesn't, then we go nuclear. I called Brad's office from the parking lot outside Starbucks. His secretary put me through immediately, probably assuming I was a client. Brad Walsh. This is David Morrison, Lisa's husband. Dead silence. I think we need to talk, I continued. I don't think that's a good idea. I'm not asking. Meet me at Murphy's Bar on 5th Street in 1 hour, or I call your wife. You can't... 1 hour, Brad. I hung up before he could respond. Murphy's Bar was the kind of place that opened at 11 a.m. and never really closed, catering to day drinkers and people who needed to have conversations they didn't want overheard. I arrived early and claimed a booth in the back, ordering a beer I didn't want and waiting. Brad showed up 20 minutes late, looking like he'd aged 5 years overnight. His trust fund haircut was disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled. He slid into the booth across from me without making eye contact. This is awkward, he said, trying for casual humor. Is it? I thought it might be refreshing, finally having an honest conversation about my marriage. Brad signaled the bartender for a whiskey, then turned back to me. Look, David, I want you to know that I never intended for this to happen. But it did happen. Yes. For months. Yes. While you were married to Jennifer and I was married to Lisa. Brad's whiskey arrived. He downed half of it in one gulp. I know how this looks. It looks like you're a cheating piece of shit who's been fucking my wife in hotel rooms you paid for with your business credit card. Brad flinched. There's no need for... There's every need. You want to know what I found out yesterday? Lisa's been telling people I'm emotionally distant and controlling. She's been painting me as the bad guy in our marriage so she could justify what she's been doing with you. She never said anything bad about you to me. No? What did she say? Brad stared into his whiskey glass. She said you'd grown apart, that you didn't understand her anymore. And you thought that gave you the right to step in? I thought maybe we were meant to be together. We were so good together in college before she chose me. Yes. I leaned back in the booth, studying this man who'd been systematically destroying my marriage. Do you love her? The question seemed to surprise him. Yes, I think I do. Enough to leave your wife for her. Another pause. It's complicated. No, it's not. It's simple. Either you love Lisa enough to blow up your life for her, or you're just using her for sex while keeping your perfect family intact. Brad finished his whiskey and signaled for another. What do you want from me, David? I want you to tell Jennifer about the affair. I can't do that. Why not? It would destroy her. The kids... You should have thought about that before you started cheating. Look, I'll end it with Lisa, completely. You'll never hear from me again. Too late for that. I pulled out my phone and showed him one of Jake's photos. Brad entering the hotel yesterday afternoon. I know about all of it. The hotels, the restaurants, the credit card receipts. I know you were supposed to be in court yesterday when this photo was taken. Brad's face went white. You had me followed? I had you documented. There's a difference. What do you want? I want you to tell your wife the truth. Today. Or I will. And if I do, then maybe we can all move on with our lives quietly. And if I don't, I finished my beer and stood up. Then tomorrow morning, Jennifer gets copies of everything. The photos, the hotel receipts, the timeline, everything. I left him sitting in that dark bar, staring at his empty glass and probably wondering how his life had gotten so complicated. My phone was buzzing with texts when I got back to my car. 3 from Lisa, 2 from Sarah, 1 from my sister asking if I was okay. But the most interesting one was from Margaret. "Check your email. You're going to love this." The email contained a link to a local news website. The headline made me smile. "Local law firm under investigation for questionable expense reports." The article was brief but damning. An anonymous tip had led investigators to examine the billing practices of Walsh, Henderson, and Associates, particularly regarding travel and entertainment expenses that appeared to be personal rather than business-related. I called Margaret immediately. "You didn't—" "I most certainly did. Amazing what a concerned citizen can accomplish with a few phone calls. They'll know it was connected to the affair. Will they? The investigation is about business expenses. If Brad happens to get caught up in it because he was using company money to pay for his love nest, well, that's just unfortunate timing." I had to admire her thoroughness. Even if Brad told his wife about the affair, he was still going to face professional consequences for his actions. "What's next?" I asked. "Now we wait and watch the dominoes fall." I didn't have to wait long. At 6 p.m., my phone rang with a call from an unknown number. "Is this David Morrison?" "Yes." "This is Jennifer Walsh. I think we need to talk." My heart sank. Brad had told her. "Mrs. Walsh, I'm sorry. Don't. Just don't. Can you meet me somewhere public?" We agreed on a diner on the outskirts of town, the kind of place where nobody would recognize either of us. I arrived first and claimed a booth in the back, ordering coffee I didn't want and dreading the conversation to come. Jennifer Walsh looked nothing like her Facebook photos. The woman who walked through the diner door was hollow-eyed and brittle, like someone who'd been crying for hours. She spotted me immediately and walked over with the mechanical movements of someone operating on autopilot. "David," I stood up. "Mrs. Walsh, I'm sorry we're meeting under these circumstances." She slid into the booth across from me and ordered coffee from the waitress with the polite smile of someone who'd spent years hiding her true feelings. "Brad told me everything," she said once we were alone. "I'm sorry." "Are you? Because from what I understand, you threatened to expose the affair if he didn't tell me himself." I couldn't deny it. "Yes." "So you're not sorry it came out. You're sorry it happened." She was right, and we both knew it. "How long have you known?" she asked. "I figured it out yesterday morning. But looking back, probably longer than I want to admit." Jennifer nodded. "I think I knew too. Subconsciously. The late meetings, the business trips that didn't quite make sense. But I didn't want to know, you know? I knew exactly what she meant." "What are you going to do?" I asked. "I don't know. Brad's at his brother's house tonight. I told him not to come home until I figured out what I wanted to say to the kids." The kids. I'd been trying not to think about them. "I'm sorry about that. I know this affects more than just you and Brad." Jennifer laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You know what the funny thing is? I always liked Lisa. We met at a few work functions over the years. She seemed so put together, so confident. I actually envied your marriage." Appearances can be deceiving. "No kidding." The waitress refilled our coffee cups. Jennifer stared into hers like she was looking for answers in the dark liquid. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "What are you going to do about Lisa?" "I honestly don't know. Brad thinks you might take her back. He said she's been calling him, begging him to talk to you, to convince you to give her another chance." That was news to me. "She's still in contact with him?" "As of this morning, yes. She called him crying, saying you'd left and wouldn't answer her calls." So much for Lisa ending the affair. Even now, caught red-handed, she was still running to Brad for comfort. "I guess that answers my question about taking her back." Jennifer studied my face. "You really didn't know she was still calling him?" "No, she told me she'd ended it." "I'm sorry, that must be... God, this is all such a mess." We sat in silence for a moment. Two people whose lives had been blown apart by the selfishness of others. "Jennifer, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you going to divorce him?" She was quiet for a long time. "I have 2 kids and a teacher's salary. Brad makes 10 times what I do. If I divorce him, I'll lose the house. The kids will have to change schools. But you'll have your self-respect. Will I? Or will I just be a single mother struggling to pay rent while Brad starts over with someone new?" I understood her dilemma, but I also understood something else. "Jennifer, if you stay with him, this won't be the last time. Men like Brad, they don't change. They just get better at hiding it." "How do you know?" Because I spent 22 years married to someone who was always looking for something better. The affair with Brad isn't the problem, it's a symptom. Jennifer started crying then, quiet tears that she wiped away with diner napkins. I used to think we had a good marriage, she said. Not perfect, but good. We went to church together, coached the kids' soccer teams, hosted barbecues with the neighbors. It all seemed so normal. It was normal, that's what makes it worse. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. David, please call me. We need to talk about Brad. There are things you don't understand. I showed Jennifer the message. She read it and shook her head. Even now, she's still trying to manage the situation. What do you mean? She's not apologizing or asking for forgiveness. She's saying there are things you don't understand. She's still trying to control the narrative. Jennifer was right. Even caught in the lie, Lisa was looking for an angle, a way to spin this that would minimize her culpability. I typed back, I understand enough. The response came immediately. No, you don't. Brad told me he's leaving Jennifer. We're going to be together. I showed Jennifer the message. Her face went very still. Is that true? I asked. No. He begged me to give him another chance. Said it was a mistake, that he'd never leave me and the kids. So he's lying to both of you. Apparently. I felt a strange sense of relief, not because Brad was lying, that was hardly surprising, but because it meant Lisa was still being deceived, still being used, still believing in a fantasy that would never become reality. Jennifer, I have a proposition for you. What kind of proposition? Help me expose them, completely, not just to our families, but to everyone. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone and scrolled to the photos Jake had taken. I mean, we make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of people they are. Brad's law firm, Lisa's architecture firm, their friends, their clients, everyone. Jennifer stared at the photos. That would destroy their careers. Yes, it would. And you're okay with that? Are you? She was quiet for a long time, studying the images of her husband and my wife entering and leaving hotel rooms. What would we have to do? Leave that to me, but I'll need your help with some of the details, things only a wife would know. Like what? Like the names of Brad's biggest clients, his golf buddies, the partners at his firm who think he's such a family man. Jennifer nodded slowly. I can do that. Are you sure? Once we start this, there's no going back. David, they destroyed our marriages. They humiliated us. They lied to our faces for months while carrying on their affair. Why should we protect them? We shouldn't. Jennifer pulled out her phone and started typing. What are you doing? Making a list. Every person who should know the truth about Brad Walsh? I smiled for the first time in days. I think we're going to get along just fine. We spent the next hour planning our revenge. Jennifer knew Brad's world inside and out. His clients, his colleagues, his golf partners, his church friends. She had access to his social media accounts, his email contacts, his calendar. He's supposed to speak at the Bar Association dinner next week, she said. Something about ethics in family law. Perfect. And he's got a big case coming up, representing a woman in a messy divorce. She specifically requested him because of his reputation as a family man. Even better. By the time we left the diner, we had a comprehensive plan. Jennifer would gather intelligence from Brad's side while I handled Lisa's professional contacts. Margaret would coordinate the timing to ensure maximum impact. As we walked to our cars, Jennifer stopped and turned to me. David, I want you to know, I'm not doing this just for revenge. No? I'm doing it because my kids deserve to know the truth about their father. Not now, but someday. And when that day comes, I want them to know that I didn't just roll over and accept it. I understood completely. This wasn't about destroying Brad and Lisa out of spite. It was about reclaiming our dignity, our self-respect, our right to the truth. Jennifer, one more thing. Yes? When this is over, when the dust settles, you're going to be okay. You know that, right? She smiled, and for the first time since she'd walked into the diner, it looked genuine. You know what? I think I am. As I drove back to my ridiculous heart-shaped hotel room, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Anticipation. Not just for revenge, but for what came after. For the possibility of a life built on honesty instead of lies, on self-respect instead of comfortable deception. My phone rang as I was unlocking my hotel room door. Margaret's name appeared on the screen. How did it go with Jennifer? Better than expected. She's in. Good, because I have news. What kind of news? The kind that's going to make tomorrow very interesting. Check your email. The email contained a single attachment, A screenshot of a text conversation between Lisa and Sarah. Lisa: David found out about Brad. I don't know what to do. Sarah: deny everything. Say the photos are fake. Lisa: he has hotel receipts. Sarah: so, business meetings happen in hotels all the time. Lisa: Sarah, we were caught. It's over. Sarah: it's only over if you let it be. Fight back. Make David the villain. Say he's been controlling and abusive, that you were afraid to leave. Lisa: I can't do that. Sarah: you can, and you will, unless you want to lose everything. I stared at the messages, feeling my last shred of sympathy for Lisa evaporate. Even now, even caught red-handed, she was being coached on how to destroy me to save herself. I called Margaret back. How did you get these? Lisa left her phone at your house when she went to take a shower. I may have borrowed it briefly. That's illegal. So is adultery in this state. Technically. I had to laugh. My 70-year-old mother-in-law was turning into a master spy. Margaret, I think it's time to go nuclear. I was hoping you'd say that. How soon do you want to start? I looked around my tacky hotel room, at the heart-shaped tub where my wife had planned to spend romantic evenings with another woman's husband, and made my decision. Tomorrow morning, I want everyone to know the truth by noon. Consider it done. After I hung up, I sat on the edge of the ridiculous bed and thought about the last 24 hours. Yesterday morning, I'd been a naive husband who thought his biggest problem was his wife's occasional moodiness. Tonight, I was a man planning the systematic destruction of two people's reputations. The transformation should have bothered me more than it did. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Lisa. David, I know you're angry, but please don't do anything we'll both regret. Some things can't be undone. I typed back, you're absolutely right. Some things can't be undone. Then I turned off my phone and went to sleep in Brad's bed, dreaming of tomorrow's reckoning. I woke up at dawn with the clarity that comes from having a purpose. Today was the day Lisa and Brad would face the consequences of their choices. Today was the day the truth would set us all free, whether we wanted it to or not. Margaret had been busy overnight. My email contained a detailed timeline of our attack, coordinated down to the minute. At 8 a.m., Jennifer would send a group email to Brad's law partners with evidence of ethical violations. At 8:15, I would forward the hotel receipts to Lisa's boss with a note about her extended lunch meetings. At 8:30, Margaret would post the photos on the neighborhood Facebook group with a heartfelt message about supporting families affected by infidelity. It was beautiful in its thoroughness. I was drinking coffee in the hotel restaurant when my phone started buzzing. Text after text from Lisa, each more desperate than the last. David, please answer your phone. We need to talk before you do something stupid. I know you're hurt, but this doesn't have to destroy everything. Sarah says you're planning something. Please don't. That last one made me smile. Sarah, the puppet master, was apparently getting nervous. At exactly 8 a.m., I sent my email to Richard Hartwell, Lisa's boss. The subject line read, concerning Lisa Morrison's recent absences. The message was brief and professional. Mr. Hartwell, I thought you should be aware that my wife has been using company time for personal matters. Attached are receipts showing her location during hours she claimed to be working on client projects. I trust you'll handle this appropriately. I attached the hotel receipts, the restaurant bills, and a few choice photos with timestamps. My phone rang immediately, Lisa's name on the screen. David, what did you do? I told the truth. You sent those photos to my boss? Are you insane? I sent evidence of your whereabouts to someone who pays you to be somewhere else during those hours. That's called accountability. You just destroyed my career. No, Lisa, you destroyed your career. I just documented it. She was crying now, the ugly kind of crying that comes with panic. David, please, call Richard back. Tell him it was a mistake, that you were angry and not thinking clearly. I was thinking very clearly. This will ruin me. Yes, it will. I hung up and waited for the next phase to begin. At 8:15, Jennifer sent her email to the partners at Brad's law firm. She'd titled it Ethical Concerns Regarding Brad Walsh and included a detailed breakdown of his use of company funds for personal expenses, complete with hotel receipts and photos. At 8:30, Margaret's Facebook post went live. She'd crafted it perfectly, striking just the right tone of wounded dignity and maternal disappointment. Friends, it's with a heavy heart that I share this with our community. My daughter Lisa has been having an affair with a married man, using lies about my health to cover her absences from home. As a mother, I'm heartbroken. As a member of this community, I believe in honesty and accountability. The attached photos show Lisa and Brad Walsh entering and leaving hotels during hours they claim to be elsewhere. I'm sharing this not for revenge, but because other families deserve to know the truth about the people they trust. The post included a carefully curated selection of photos, nothing explicit, but damning in their clarity. Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. Shock, disappointment, and no small amount of gossip-hungry excitement from neighbors who'd always suspected something was off about Lisa's perfect social media life. My phone was buzzing constantly now. Calls from Lisa, calls from numbers I didn't recognize, text messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. But the most interesting call came at 9:15 a.m. "Mr. Morrison, this is Richard Hartwell. I think we need to discuss your wife's employment situation." "Of course, Mr. Hartwell. I've reviewed the materials you sent, and I have to say they're quite concerning. Lisa has been billing hours for client meetings that apparently never took place." "I'm sorry to hear that. Mr. Morrison, I want you to know that this puts me in a very difficult position. Lisa is a talented architect, but this evidence suggests she's been defrauding the company." "What happens now?" "I'm afraid I'll have to terminate her employment immediately, and depending on how much billable time she's falsified, we may need to pursue legal action." I felt a moment of something that might have been regret. Then I remembered Sarah's text messages, the plan to paint me as abusive and controlling, and the feeling passed. "I understand, Mr. Hartwell. Thank you for handling this professionally." After I hung up, I sat in my hotel room and watched my phone light up with notifications. The Facebook post was being shared and commented on at an exponential rate. Screenshots were appearing on other social media platforms. The story was taking on a life of its own. At 10 a.m., Jennifer called. "It's working," she said, and I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. "Brad's been suspended from the firm pending an investigation. His biggest client just fired him, and his golf buddies are already talking about kicking him out of the country club." "How do you know all that?" "His secretary called me. Apparently she's always hated him and wanted to make sure I knew how thoroughly he was being destroyed." "And how are you feeling about that?" Jennifer was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, better than I've felt in months." At 11 a.m., Sarah called me directly. "David, you need to stop this right now." "Stop what?" "You know exactly what. This social media campaign, the emails to their bosses. You're destroying innocent people." "Innocent? Lisa made a mistake, but she doesn't deserve to have her entire life ruined." "What about Brad's wife? What about his kids? Did they deserve to have their lives ruined?" "That's different." "How?" Sarah couldn't answer that, so she tried a different approach. "David, Lisa loves you. She's willing to do anything to save your marriage." "Except tell the truth." "She did tell the truth. She confessed everything." "After I caught her, and only after lying to my face for months." "Everyone makes mistakes." "Sarah, I know about your plan." Silence. "I know you've been coaching Lisa on how to make me the villain in this story. I know you suggested she claim I was abusive and controlling." I have the text messages." More silence. "Sarah, you helped destroy my marriage. You encouraged Lisa to cheat, you helped her lie about it, and when she got caught, you tried to help her destroy my reputation to save hers. Why exactly should I show mercy to any of you?" Sarah hung up without answering. At noon, I drove to my house to collect more of my belongings. Lisa's car was in the driveway, along with a car I didn't recognize. Through the front window, I could see Lisa pacing in the living room, talking on her phone. I used my key to let myself in. Lisa looked up when she heard the door, and I was shocked by her appearance. She looked like she'd aged 5 years overnight. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, her eyes red and swollen. "David, thank God you're here." "I'm just getting some clothes." "Please, we need to talk. This has gotten completely out of hand." "Has it?" A woman emerged from the kitchen, Sarah looking almost as haggard as Lisa. "David," Sarah said, trying to sound conciliatory, "I think we can work this out if everyone just calms down." "There's nothing to work out." "Lisa's willing to go to counseling. She's willing to do whatever it takes." "What about Brad? Is he willing to do whatever it takes?" Lisa and Sarah exchanged a look. "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "I mean, is he leaving his wife for you? Because that's what you told me yesterday." Another exchanged look. "Lisa," I said, "where is Brad right now?" He's dealing with some work issues." "What kind of work issues?" "David, that's not important. It's important to me. See, I talked to his wife yesterday, Jennifer. Nice woman. She told me Brad begged her for another chance. Swore he'd never leave her and the kids." Lisa's face crumbled. "That's not... He didn't mean... So he's lying to you, too." "David, please." "Lisa, answer me honestly. Right now, today, if I asked you to choose between me and Brad, who would you choose?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. You can't answer, can you? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. I headed upstairs to pack more clothes. Lisa followed me, with Sarah close behind. David, I choose you. I choose our marriage. Do you? Because your phone records show you've called Brad 17 times since yesterday morning. Lisa stopped dead. How do you know that? Because I'm not as stupid as you think I am. I packed methodically while Lisa alternated between apologies and accusations. Sarah stood in the doorway, occasionally offering unhelpful commentary about the importance of forgiveness and second chances. David, Lisa said finally, what do you want from me? What do I have to do to fix this? I stopped packing and looked at her, this woman I'd loved for over 20 years. Lisa, I want you to tell me the truth, just once. No lies, no spin, no excuses. Just the truth. About what? About everything. How long it's been going on, why it started, what you were planning to do about our marriage. Lisa sat on the edge of our bed, the bed we'd shared for 15 years. It started 6 months ago, she said quietly. Brad reached out on LinkedIn, said he was in town and wanted to catch up. We met for coffee, and it just happened. What happened? We talked about college, about the old days. He made me feel young again. Interesting. Like I was more than just someone's wife. And then? And then we started meeting regularly, just talking at first, but then you started sleeping together. Yes. In hotels paid for with his business credit card. Yes. While lying to me about where you were going. Yes. And posting on social media about how emotionally distant I was. Lisa looked up at me with tears in her eyes. I never meant for that to hurt you. But it did hurt me, and you kept doing it anyway. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. What do you want now? I want our marriage back. What about Brad? Lisa finally admitted it. When Brad's affair went public, he chose his wife. She couldn't even deny she'd take him back if he called. That was all I needed. I told her it was over, that I was filing for divorce. As she broke down, Sarah accused me of cruelty, but I wasn't destroying Lisa. I was done rebuilding her lies. By nightfall, everything had unraveled, her firm distancing itself, Brad's career collapsing, his wife filing for divorce. I felt free. Lisa texted an apology. I deleted it. Some things come too late. Tomorrow I'd start over. Not with vengeance, but with truth. Sometimes the cleanest revenge is simply walking away.